Hi friends, my name is Sarvan Kumar. I am your economy faculty. Welcome to Rathod's IAS Economic Weekly Series. As usual, even this week we do have a lot of current affairs which appeared in the different newspapers such as the Hindu Business Line, the Live Mint and PIB. So without wasting any time, let us try to see all these important current affairs appeared in different newspapers. Right? So the first important current affair that we see this week is about the oil bonds. Right? It is about the oil bonds. Let me give the brief background. Now, what is this oil background and each and everything we will discuss after that background. Okay. See, recently there is a criticism being extended towards the central government, that is the union government, regarding the failure of the central government in decreasing the prices of the petroleum products. Say for example, to put it in a layman language, these days you clearly see the prices of the petroleum products like petrol and diesel is getting increased. Now it is being criticized that central government have failed to failed to stabilize the prices of these petroleum products at a minimal level. Right? Now on the other hand, the central government in counter saying that it's okay that these prices are increasing at a rapid scale and the prices are placed at a higher level, but it is not because we are failing to reduce these kind of prices, but because of the compensation we need to pay for oil bonds, these kind of reduction in the petroleum prices is not possible right now. Right? This is what the central government is saying. Now, before we go into the topic, let me first give you a basics with respect to what is this bonds, what is a treasury bill, and also what is the difference between these two. What is the difference between a bond, what is the difference between a treasury bill, and also what is the difference between a share. Right? So, once we have the clarity with respect to all these three important basics, then we will discuss the current affair. Right? See, understand. Now we need to understand about the three important terms: the share, the bond, and the third one, the treasury bill. Of course, now in our current affair, we are going to discuss clearly about the bonds. Now, it is very important at the same time you should have a clarity with respect to what is this share all about and also what is this treasury bill is all about. Right? Once you have the comparative analysis and knows the difference between all these three important financial tools, then you can appreciate the current affairs. Right? See, understand. Now, imagine there is a person. Right? Imagine here is a person and he needs 1,000 rupees. And he needs 1,000 rupees of money. Now, imagine here we have the person A and here we have the person B. Right? Here we have the person A and here we have the person B. Now understand, now if this person wants this 1,000 rupees, now if he approaches the person A, then what he says, try to understand. Imagine if this person is approaching this person A. Now he will say that, okay, I will give you 1,000 rupees of money. You need to pay that money back after 1 year. You need to pay that back after 1 year. And now you also need to pay me the interest rate of 10% of the 1 year. This is what the first guy said when he approached this particular person. Now take the example of a second guy B. Now when this guy approached this person, he said that, okay, I can't give you 1,000 rupees, but I will give you 900 rupees. But there is no interest rate. There is no interest rate. And after 1 year, you need to pay me back the total 1,000 rupees. This is what he said. Now, this is the mechanism in which a bond works. This is the mechanism in which a bond works, and this is the mechanism in which a treasury bill works. Right? Understand, the bond will have a face value, a principal value. It will have an interest rate. Try to observe the interest rate. It will have an interest rate. So 10% of the interest rate, you can clearly see it here. Now, it is going to have some maturity date, right? It is going to have some maturity date. In such a way, a bond is going to have the principal amount, an interest payment amount, as well as it's going to have a maturity date. Now, similarly, see, on the other hand, the treasury bill is going to be, treasury bill is also going to have some face value. But try to understand, it does not have interest rate, but it is issued at a coupon rate. It is issued at a coupon rate. Or we also known as, we often call it as a discount rate. So treasury bills are issued at a discount rate. Remember, if at all say for example, if you go to a shop and if the shopkeeper says the price of any particular item is 1000 rupees. Now he also says that he is going to give you 10% discount on that particular item. Now automatically what happens, he is going to give that particular article to you at 900 rupees. So this is called discount rate. Similarly, these treasury bills are going to work in the same way. See, for 1000 rupees, if somebody says the discount rate is 10%, you are only going to get 900 rupees only. Right? I think it is clear. So see, as there is no interest rates, remember, technically in a macroeconomic words, we don't use the word called interest rate. For that, we use a word called coupon rate. As there is no coupon, there is no interest for the treasury bills, these treasury bills are also known as zero coupon bonds. So these are also known as zero coupon bonds. So try to understand, a government bond or a bond is issued at an interest rate. It is issued at an interest rate, whereas a treasury bill is issued at a discount rate. It is issued at a discount rate, right? Now, treasury bills, as these are issued at a discount rate and there is no interest, and interest is termed as a coupon, now we also call it as a zero coupon bonds. Zero coupon bonds. I hope you clearly understood the difference between what is a bond and what is a treasury bill. Now try to understand what is the difference between a bond and a share. Now imagine here we have a company. Now in order to establish, he is the particular owner of that particular company. In order to establish this particular company, imagine he needs 100 rupees of money. Now he himself have 51 rupees with him and he needs rest of the 49 rupees. He needs the rest of the 49 rupees of money, right? Next, what is going to happen? Now, in order to get this 49 rupees, he have multiple options. Say, for example, he can go for the money lender. He can go for the money lender and he can ask that 49 rupees from the money lender, right? Now, he can go for the friends. He can ask the friends and relatives. And he can ask, see, it is not at all possible. No relative and no friend is going to give you the money. If you want to start a business, it's not possible. And then you have the money market. And then you have the money market. And the last option you have is the capital market. Last option you have the capital market. Now, what is the meaning of a money market? See, money market is not a kind of any separate market, but of course, this money market is an amalgamation of different kinds of financial institutions. Now, what are these amalgamation of financial institutions? To put it simply in a layman language, banking sector. The banking sector. We do have the banks like, see, public sector banks. We have the public sector banks. We have the private sector banks. In the public sector banks, we have the SBI group and we have the nationalized banks. In private sector banks, we have the Indian private sector banks and we also have the foreign banks. All these financial institutions forms a network and we call it as a money market. And you can approach a bank to get the loans from this money market, right? I hope it is very clear. Now, this is the first important option available for you. And remember the definition, money market is a market where the borrowing and lending activities takes for a short-term period. Borrowing and lending activities happens for a short-term period. Borrowing means giving the money. So, borrowing means taking the money from some institution. Lending the money is extending the money or giving the money. So, when this money market is a place, a money market is a financial institutions, a group of institutions where the borrowing and lending activities takes for short-term period, say less than 3 years. Next, we have the next important item, capital market. Now, understand this 49 rupees, he can issue it in the form of a share or he can issue it in the form of a bond. Now, try to understand the meaning of the share itself. Try to observe the word itself. See, for example, he is the person. Now, if he subscribed to, try to understand this macroeconomic word. See, issue means selling. Issue means selling. Subscribing means purchasing. Subscribing means purchasing. Always try to remember these two important modes as and when we discuss about the capital market. See, this guy is issuing 49 rupees worth of share. What does it mean? Issue means he is selling 49 rupees worth of share. Now he is subscribed. If he subscribes to the 49 rupees worth of the share, what does it mean? He subscribing means he is purchasing that 49 rupees worth of the share. Now imagine this is 49 rupees worth of the share and he subscribed to it, he purchased it and he given the 49 rupees of money to the owner, and 100 rupees, the total 100 rupees is sufficient enough, and now this person can start this factory. See, here ends the matter. Now imagine after a period of time, after 1 year, this factory started earning revenues. Now understand, for every 100 rupees of the profit this company earns, see, what is the ratio of the shareholding? 51% is with this person and 49% is with this person. So out of the every 100 rupees, 51 rupees is taken by him and 49 rupees will be given to this person. So understand, share means share in the capital, share in the investment, share in the ownership. So every 100 rupees a company earns, the person is going to get the equivalent amount of shareholding amount of the money, right? If a person holds 49%, he will get the 49 rupees of the money. If he holds the 10%, he will get the 10 rupees of the money or 10% of the money. This is how share is going to work. Now imagine the same company have not issued any share, but it issued a 49 rupees worth of bond. Now what does it mean? See, if this person subscribes to that 14 rupees worth of the bond, what is going to happen? See, you already know that if he purchases that 49 rupees worth of the bond, he is going to give that 14 rupees worth of the money to this particular person. Now the 100 rupees is sufficient enough for him and he can start the business, right? But try to understand, unlike shares, in the shares, if a company earns a profit of 100 rupees, he is going to get the 14 rupees of the money. But irrespective of that, see, whatever the shares a company earns, it doesn't matter. Only see, the bondholders is going to get a periodic interest rate. Say for example, see, imagine myself. See, if you imagine yourself as the opposite person, you have 51 rupees with you, and if I give you 49 rupees as a share, so each and every 100 rupees your company earns, you need to pay me 49 rupees because I'm a shareholder. I have a ownership, I have a share in the ownership of 49%, 49 rupees. See, understand. Next, take the other case. Now you want me to give the money, but you don't want me to get any kind of a shareholder or any kind of a profits that your company earns. Now try to understand. Now you can issue it as a bond. Imagine you are issuing a bond and you have 51 rupees and you are issuing a bond worth of 49 rupees to me, and I have subscribed it, and I am not at all caring about your profits and losses, and for the bond you are going to get a periodic interest rate. Say for example in the above case, see here, as I said, the bond is going to have an interest rate. The bonds are issued at an interest rate, treasury bills are issued at a coupon rate. For the shares, you will get the profits earned by the company. Right? In such a way, irrespective of the profits and losses of the company, bondholder, those who subscribes to the bond, who purchases the bond, is going to earn some periodic interest payments. Now, unlike the shares, see, in shares, the profits earned by the company will be shared by the shareholder, and losses accumulated by the company also be needed to be shared by the shareholder. As I said, if a company earns 100 rupees of the profit, 14 rupees will be given to the shareholder, this guy. And at the same time, if a company accumulates 100 rupees of losses, 49 rupees also need to be paid by him. But unlike the bondholder, irrespective of the profits and loss, he is going to get a periodic interest rate. Say for example, if it is 10%, it is 4.9 rupees. Right? This person is going to get that amount irrespective of the profits and losses. So this is the basic difference between, a share, bond and a treasury bill. Understand, guys. Right? Try to understand. See, imagine if it is a government. Right? Imagine if it's a government. See, government is provided with a lot of constitutional responsibilities. Right? For the national government, maintaining the national security, right? Telecommunications, international relations, foreign affairs, all these are the works given by the constitution for the national government. At the same time, welfare, public order, police order, all these are the important duties given by the constitution for the state governments, isn't it or not? For the state governments. So fulfilling both these responsibilities are very much important for both the central government as well as for the state government. I hope you are following me. Now, in order to fulfill these responsibilities, government needs revenue, isn't it or not? See, government needs revenue. So, where does the government gets the revenue? It gets the revenue through the taxes. So what are the taxes we have? The direct taxes and indirect taxes. Try to understand. Often see, imagine through the taxes, if government gets 97 rupees, they goes for 100 rupees of expenditure. See, in the chapters of deficit financing and in these related topics, we have clearly discussed why should a government go for the extra amount of borrowing, right? Now, here the deficit is 3 rupees. What is the meaning of a deficit? Deficit means if we want something and if you don't have it, we call it as a deficit. In the economy, we want some money but we don't have it. It is called deficit in the economy perspective. I hope it is very clear. Now, in order to get these 3 rupees, what usually government do? The government goes for borrowings. The government goes for borrowings. Now, when we talk about the borrowings are of two types. Internal borrowings as well as external borrowings. Now, in internal borrowings, what are the two major tools the government uses? Government bonds as well as treasury bills. For short-term loans, the government goes for treasury bills, and for the long-term loans, the government goes for the government bonds, issuing of government bonds. And all these borrowings amount forms the capital receipts of Government of India. Capital receipts of Government of India. Now, when we talk about the budget you have two components: revenue budget, capital budget. In the revenue budget, we have the revenue receipts, capital receipts. So, borrowings forms the part of capital receipts of Government of India. So, this is about the basic differences between the shares, bonds and treasury bills. Now, let us come back to our topic where I said in the beginning that, see, understand, imagine this is an oil manufacturing company. This is a petroleum company. Now, what is going to happen? The central government is saying that previously, the previous government have given a lot of bonds for these kind of oil manufacturing companies. Now, due to that, we are paying all these amounts, interest and also the principal. Now, as a result, we cannot afford to reduce the prices. Let me give an example. See, this is an oil manufacturing company. Now, what used to happen in the early days was, imagine if the price of the petrol is 80 rupees. Now, all of a sudden, due to increase in the crude oil prices, the price of the petrol is increased to 100 rupees. Now, automatically, see, these level of fluctuations, say for example, it is increased to 120 rupees. These level of fluctuations, like 40 rupees difference in the prices, cannot be borne by the common people in India. Now, in order to solve these kind of things, the petroleum companies are often asked not to reduce the prices of the fuel and try to maintain it at 80 rupees or 81 rupees or up to 85 rupees in such a way, and rest of the money will be compensated by us, as means government. The government will say to the petroleum companies, it's okay, the prices of the crude oil have increased. So, automatically, you also need to increase the prices of the petrol as well as crude oil. But the level of the crude oil prices increased cannot be seen. The level in which it is increased to 120 rupees and the difference 40 rupees of increase in the petroleum prices and diesel prices cannot be borne by the common man in the country. So, what you need to do is, the oil corporation companies, what they need to do is, you need to maintain the price stabilization. Now, what happens if they maintain the same amount of the prices? Definitely they are going to accumulate the losses. Now, see, try to understand, if they want to sell the same price, if they want to sell the petroleum products at the same old price, 80 rupees, now what is the loss they are going to accumulate? 40 rupees. Now, who will compensate it? The government is saying, you try to maintain the prices. Of course, the prices, these kind of losses need to be compensated to the oil corporations by the government. Now, see, try to understand, if government directly gives this 40 rupees, see, this balance, the gap of 40 rupees to the oil corporations, there is no point out of it. See, government gets the money through the taxes. Government gets the money through the taxes, and government using the same taxes to pay it to the oil marketing companies, oil corporations. Now, why to take the money from the people and you pay it to the oil manufacturing companies or oil corporations? The people will directly pay it. So, in such a way, there is no point in providing these 40 rupees by the government to the oil manufacturing companies or oil corporations. Now, here came a solution. You now understood the meaning of a bond. Now, instead, see, imagine if they want to pay an amount of 40 rupees. Now, imagine the government is going to give them 40 rupees worth of the bonds. 40 rupees worth of the bonds. You know that bond is going to be issued at a principal, let's say 40 rupees worth of the bond, and it is going to get the interest rate, it is going to have the interest rate. And try to understand, imagine myself as a government and you imagine yourself as an oil corporation. Now I need to give you a 40 rupees. Now instead of giving that 40 rupees amount directly to you, what I have done is I have given you 40 rupees worth of a government bond, right? Now what is going to happen? See, this government bond is designed in such a way that all these 40 rupees is given to you in 4 installments, 10 into 4. Now in such a way, at the end of the 4th year, you are going to get all the 40 rupees of the amount, and meanwhile you are going to get some interest payments from the bank, from the government. As you know, that bonds is going to hold some interest rate for them. So in such a way, observe, in such a way, the burden immediately, see, the burden of immediately paying the 40 rupees to the oil companies will be eliminated. Slowly, the government is going to pay that 40 rupees in 4 years installments to the oil manufacturing companies. Now the central government is saying that these kind of bonds are being issued to the oil corporations at a large scale. Now that's the reason still we are paying these kind of amounts to the oil corporations. So that's the reason now we cannot reduce the prices of the petroleum and diesel products. This is what central government or union government have said. Right? Now this is about the current affair. Now when we look at these things, as of now the taxes accounts for 50% of the total retail prices for the liter of the petrol and 44% of the liter of the diesel. Now remember guys, in our previous classes we have discussed about the GST also. See, when we look at the indirect taxes of the central government, central excise duty is the major indirect tax of the central government which it imposes on the various products. Now when we look at the indirect taxes of the state government, we have the state VAT, we have the sales tax, central sales tax or sales tax of the government, and we also have octroi, entry tax. In such a way we have different taxes. Once the GST came into force, it did literally almost got converted into CGST. The central excise duty of the central government got converted into CGST, GST central component, and all these are converted into SGST. So in such a way all these are converted into GST. And you also know that the petroleum products and alcohol based products for human consumption are not being currently taxed with the GST regime. Now that's the reason on the petroleum products still the central government imposes the central excise duty. Still central government imposes the central excise duty. It is about 20%. Out of 100 rupees petrol you fill in your bikes and cars, 20 rupees will, maximum 20 rupees these days is going to central government as a central excise duty. So this is one important thing you need to remember. Now as I said, this is the explanation for it. When fuel prices were too high for the domestic consumers, government in the past have often asked oil marketing companies to avoid charging high for the fuel prices. But again, if the government if the oil companies do not get paid, they would become unprofitable. To address this, the government said they would pay the difference. But again, if the government paid the amount in cash, that 40 rupees, it would have been pointless, because the government would have had to tax the same people to collect the money and pay to the oil marketing companies. In this is where the oil bonds came into picture. So this is how they helped it. Now see, this is the example they have given. An oil bond says the government will pay the oil marketing company a sum of 1000 crores in 10 years, and the compensation to compensate the OMC for not having the money straight away, the government will pay at least 80 crores. As I said, the 40 rupees of the money will be paid in 4 installments. Next, now when we look at this is what the current affairs, and you need to remember it. This is about the oil bonds. There are a lot of chances for these kind of equations to get asked in your UPSC prelims. Now when we look at the idea of the government bonds, see, the Rao Manmohan Singh noted that he is the previous prime minister, noted that issuing the bonds just pushed the liability to the further generation. Noted that, see, but to a great extent most of the government borrowings is in the form of bonds. As I said, the government borrowings usually happens through two important sources like government bonds and treasury bills. So most of the government borrowings happens through this kind of government bonds, right? Further, in a relatively poor country like India, all governments are forced to resort to use some kind of bonds. It's common. Even the current NDA government has issued a bonds worth of 2.79 lakh crores, twice the amount of the oil bonds, to recapitalize public sector banks. right? This is recapitalization of the public sector banks is altogether a different issue, and we have discussed earlier ones, and if the news appears again and again, we are going to discuss this recapitalization. It's an important current affair just way back in 2 to 1 year, right? These bonds will be repaid by the government till 2036. Even if another government, another party government forms government in the central, then also the bonds which are issued by the current government need to be paid by the next coming government. Try to understand, the party which forms the government may change, but the government as a whole cannot be changed. The government is a continuous process. The party who forms the government doesn't matter, right? The government is going to continue. If this government going to make some kind of a debt, that need to be paid back by the next coming government. The government should not say the previous government have created the debt and we should not pay it. It is not going to happen. The country is not going to run in such a way. So this is about the oil bonds and the rest of the current affairs. So I hope you clearly understood the basic difference between bonds, shares, treasury bills, and also this current issue of central government, right? See, now let us move back. Let us move to the new current affair, another current affair, the Nithyayog, which publishes the energy and climate index list. Guys, once the Nithyayog came into force, you know that after the planning commission was abolished with the Nithyayog. Now understand, earlier the planning commission used to have the executive powers, which in fact it recommended that in fact the planning commission have recommended the grants to be given for the state governments by the central government. Now this is not the case. Nithyayog currently is just a think tank. It does not have any kind of executive powers which makes it to deliver. See, it can recommend the funds that need to be devolved from the central government to the state government, but it cannot directly prescribe these much amount from the central government pool of taxes can be shared to the states. These kind of things cannot be recommended directly, even though if recommended they are not binding on the central government. So understand Nithyayog as a policy think tank and not as a erstwhile planning commission where it used to have the powers even to recommend devaluation of the funds from the central government, right? This is the first thing. And you need to remember, see, as whenever we come across the Nithyayog these days are coming with a lot of indexes. Now remember, for the UPSC, Nithyayog is a very favorite chapter. For the UPSC, Nithyayog is very much favorite chapter, and every year or so, or the next alternative year, there will be a question on the Nithyayog. So whenever Nithyayog come up with these kind of an initiatives, it is very much as an UPSC aspirant, you need to note down all these kind of indexes. So under this index, the states have been categorized based on the size and also the geographical differences as larger and smaller states and UTs. So this is the first categorization. Now from the UPSC perspective, you need to remember all these six important parameters. The UPSC is going to ask you which of the following is not a kind of a parameter taken by the Nithyayog to prepare the index. So clean energy initiatives, you need to remember, you don't have an option, we need to remember. Discom performances, the distribution company performances in the states. Environmental sustainability, new initiatives, energy sufficiency, and access, affordability, and reliability of energy. Upon these six parameters and dividing the states on the basis of the size and geographical differences, the Nithyayog have prepared the State Energy and Climate Index. The first question might be, the State Energy and Climate Index will be released by Nithyayog. But then what might be the next question? Which of the following is not a parameter taken by the Nithyayog while compiling the State Energy and Climate Index? This would be your second question. So you need to remember and you need to approach these questions and approach the current affairs in such a way. Right? Now when we look at the performance of the states in the index given by the Nithyayog, Gujarat, Kerala and Punjab have been ranked as the top 3 performers in the category of the larger states, while Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh were the bottom 3 states. So these are the largest states as far as the geographical area is concerned. Now Goa emerged as a top performer in small states category, followed by the Tripura and Manipur. Among the union territories, Chandigarh, Delhi and Daman, Dadra and Nagar Haveli are the top performers. Of course, you need not to remember all these kind of states which performed at which state is the top in the larger states or which state is at the bottom in the small states and UTs. Of course, this data is not much important. If it is possible, try to remember. But the thing as far as the UPSC is concerned, what you need to remember is all these parameters of different kinds of initiatives. Right? This is about the State Energy and Climate Index. Next, Punjab was the best performer in the DISCOM performance, while the Kerala topped in access, affordability and reliability energy provision category. So this is about this index. So try to note down these parameters and try to remember them for your prelims. Next, the next current affair what we need to discuss is about the care economy. Right? Often we come across different kinds of names like green economy, methanol economy, care economy. So these days, these kind of economic terms are very much important both for your prelims as well as mains. See, care work, let us first try to understand what is this care works and care economy is all about. Care work encompasses direct activities. Try to remember the definition: feeding a baby or nursing an ill partner, and indirect care activities such as cooking and cleaning. So observe this statement very carefully. The care works may be direct, like feeding a baby and nursing an ill partner, or it may be indirect, such as cooking the food and cleaning. So all these works done mostly by the woman comes under the category of care works, and the economy related to these works is nothing but the care economy, right? Try to understand. Now see, the importance of the care work is now widely acknowledged, accepted and covered in various international commitments, even in the Sustainable Development Goals. However, the investment in the care economy has not matched the pace. See, when we look at this care work, whether paid or unpaid, direct or indirect, just now we have understood the difference between direct and indirect care work. So these kind of terms are very much important for your prelims. So direct care work and indirect care work, these are very much important. Now, care work is vital for human well-being and economics. Whether it's paid, unpaid, direct or indirect, you know who is an unpaid worker, who is going to provide all these kind of care services for the people, for the children and for the men. Right? I hope I don't need to tell you separately it. Unpaid care work is linked to the labor market inequalities, yet it has yet to receive adequate attention in policy formulation. Right? See, when we look at the current status and we look at the data, greater initiatives, greater investment in the care services can create an additional 300 million jobs globally. So the care economy have a potential to increase the economy. In turn, this will help increase female labor force participation and advance sustainable development goals. Try to understand what is the meaning of labor force. Those people who engaged in economic activity are considered as employees. Those people who are currently not engaged in any economic activity, but if somebody provides them the work, they are ready to do the work. We call them as unemployed. Both this employed and unemployed, that too between the age group of 15 to 59, are considered as workforce. And those people above these ages, and as well as those people who is not currently working, and if somebody provides them the work, they are not willing to do the work. They does not come under the definition of labor force. So this is about the labor force, and if these kind of investments is enhanced in this care economy, it is going to increase the female labor force participation rate. Right? Now when we look at the current status of these kind of labor force participation of the women in this kind of care economy, see, maternity leave is a universal human and labor right. You know about the maternity leave. Yes, it remains unfulfilled across the countries. Say for example, according to the ILO's, International Labour Organization, the countries need to provide at least 14 weeks of the maternity leave, and it is being implemented in 120 countries. Now beyond 14 weeks, in India we are giving 26 weeks of maternity leave. But try to understand, these kind of a maternity leave is provided to the women who are working in the formal sector, right? Now, you know that about 89% of the women are working in the informal sector. So, accordingly, only about 11% of the women workers who are working currently is going to receive the benefit of maternity relief. Now, as far as 89% as these people are working in the informal employment, they are not going to receive this kind of maternity leave. Now, when it comes to the paternity leave for the father, while paternity leave is recognized as an enabler for both the mother and father to better balance the work and family responsibilities, it is not provided in many countries, even including India. And you need to remember, paternity leave is leave for the father, maternity leave is leave for the mother during that period. Now, in such a way, the paternity leave, although recognized, is not being included, not being provided, including in India. So, remember, paternity leave is not being provided in India. Access to quality and affordable care services such as health, child care, elderly care, and care for the people with disabilities is a challenge workers with the family's responsibilities face globally. Right? This is another important challenge. Limited implementation is another important problem faced by this kind of care economy currently in the countries. Well, India has a long history of mandating the provision of creches, the meaning of creches, where the mother can feed the babies. So for all these kind of works, there should be a separate exclusive room or exclusive an area to do all these things. So while India has a long history of mandating the provision of creches in the factories and establishments, there is no formal information whether they actually implemented at a ground level or not. This is another important problem. Domestic workers on whom Indian households are heavily resilient also faces challenges in accessing the decent work. You know that, according to the government 2019 estimates, 20 lakhs out of 39 lakh domestic workers in India are females. And you also know about the COVID-19 pandemic. During the COVID-19 pandemic, all the households are also converted into these workers who are going to provide the basic services during this COVID-19 period for the family people. Now, without any protection or without any help, these domestic workers have turned into the caretakers of the ill patients during COVID-19 pandemic. Right? In such a way, they have a lot of potential to get created, and they have a lot of potential to increase the employment opportunities of the people also. Now, when we look at the way forward, in order to reduce these gaps, increasing the spending, spending more than 1%. Currently, we are spending less than 1% of the GDP, and we need to enhance it is more than 1% of GDP. Now, 5 R's framework given by the ILO. They are the framework usages, recognition, reduction and redistribution of unpaid care work, and promotes rewarding care workers with more and decent work, and enables their representation in social dialogue and collective bargaining. So remember guys, these kind of statements which are often appeared in the news articles. See, this same article have appeared in the Hindu newspaper. This article which we are discussing currently appeared in the Hindu newspaper. So in such a way, these newspapers are also going to give the current affairs, and newspapers are going to give you a clear picture about what is the issue, what is the potential for the particular thing, and ultimately it is also going to give you the information with respect to the way forward. Right? So in such a way, we should cover the whole topic in a comprehensive way. Next, we have the India's solar power energy targets. This is the one important topic. See, renewable energy is always a favorite topic for UPSC. See, pollution, human related things, human related current affairs, whether it is affecting the human, whether it is benefiting the human, right? Renewable energy, all these are the important favorite areas of UPSC, where UPSC often asks questions from it. So recent reports indicate that India is likely to miss its 2022 target of installing 100 gigawatts of solar power capacity, right? See, when we look at the solar power of India, since 2011, India's solar sector has grown at a compounded annual growth rate of around 59%, from 0.5 gigawatts in 2011 to 55 gigawatts in 2021. Now, when we look at the initiation of this promotion of the the solar energy, the Jawaharlal Nehru National Solar Mission, also known as the National Solar Mission, which commenced in January 2010, marked the first time the government focused on promoting and developing the solar power in India. So try to remember the provisions of this scheme also. Under this scheme, the total installed capacity target was set by 20 gigawatts by 2022. In 2015, the target was revised to 100 gigawatts. In August 2021, the government set solar target of 300 gigawatts by 2030. Remember, these kind of targets have a lot of potential to get asked in your UPSC prelims. So please do note them. So these kind of facts are very much important from your prelims perspective. So all these targets and programs which are mentioned here are very much important. So India currently ranks 5th after China, USA and Japan and Germany in terms of installed power capacity. So generation capacity and installed capacity is altogether different. Imagine there are two solar power manufacturing plants and each can produce 5 gigawatts and each can produce a 5 gigawatts. So the total installed capacity in 10 gigawatts. Now they might be producing 6 to 7 gigawatts currently. So installed capacity is different and current production level is different. Try to understand the difference. Now when we look at what are the reasons for these kind of not achieving the target is reasons for rooftop solar adoption, and it is another important major initiative which is not happened currently, which is not being happening currently, and it is termed as one of the important reasons for not achieving these targets. In December 2015, the government launched the first phase of the grid connected rooftop solar program to incentivize its use in residential, institutional and social areas. In second phase, approved in February 2019, had a target of 40 gigawatts of cumulative rooftop solar capacity by 2022, and in November 2021 of the phase 2 target was 4 gigawatts set for the residential sector, and only 1.1 gigawatt has been installed. So due to these factors of not implementing the solar rooftop program, you do know that solar rooftop program and connecting it with the grid is also going to increase the renewable energy capacity generation in the country. Now solar power is crucial to India's commitments to mitigate the climate change. India have its commitments, India have its Paris Climate Conference, and it have committed a lot of things in it. See, the solar power is the major strategy of India's commitments to address the global warming, particularly in terms of the Paris Agreement, where we have promised to reduce the emissions by 33 to 35% of 2005 levels. The Prime Minister at the United Nations Conference, said that United Nations Conference of Parties meeting in Glasgow in November 2021 said that India would be reaching a non-fossil fuel energy capacity of 500 gigawatts by 2030 and meet half of its energy requirements through the renewable energy by 2030. So these kind of statements are very much important. Just note them down and try to remember them. Right? Next, to boost the renewable energy installation drive in the long term, the center in 2020 set a target of 450 gigawatts of renewable energy based installation capacity to be achieved by 2030, right? Within which the target for the solar itself is 300 gigawatts. You can understand. It is speculated that the government, in short, will aggressively push expediting the solar capacity addition to achieve 100 gigawatts by 2022 by reallocating some of the unmet rooftop targets to utilize the scale projects. And India is also trying to achieve the net zero emissions. What is the meaning of net zero emissions? Net zero emissions means it does not mean all the fossil fuel based emissions is completely stopped. Say for example, it's like a tap, guys. So imagine it's kind of a bath, and for it we have a leakage here. Now imagine the net zero emissions means, imagine this is the level of the water, this is the level of the water here. Now imagine this water as a pollution level currently which we are contributing. Now it means net zero emissions means, so whatever it is entering into the environment, and it will be removed out of the environment through the establishment of the carbon sinks and each and everything. So net zero emissions means not stopping the emissions of the gases from burning the fossil fuels, but it is whatever we are emitting into that environment, and the same amount is removed from the environment through various sources and various techniques. So this is called net zero emissions, and India is also thriving to achieve these kind of net zero emissions. So in such a way, the renewable energy capacity, installation of the renewable energy capacity, enhancing this solar energy capacity particularly is very much important to fulfill the promises that India have made in various international forums like Paris Climate Conference, etc. Right? So this is all about these week's current affairs. See, we have discussed about different types of current affairs, where we have discussed about the care economy, this renewable energy, we have discussed about the Nithyayog index, we have clearly discussed about the difference between the bonds, share and as well as treasury bills, and we also discussed about the oil bonds issue, which are very much important both from your prelims perspective. See, the rest of the topics are from the prelims perspective, and the care economy, which is mainly important from your mains perspective. So these are some of the important current affairs, both from the prelims perspective and mains perspective, appeared in the different newspapers. So I hope you understood and also enjoyed this class, and similarly in the next week also we are going to come up with different kinds of current affairs which important from your perspective, from the UPSC perspective, which appeared in different newspapers. So thank you. Stay tuned to the Rathods IAS. Thank you.